The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Hey y'all, welcome back to K4Wins, the best doggone handicapping show on the internet, on terrestrial radio, on television, on YouTube, you name it, we get you covered up here. K Keefer, the executive director, chief editor of the Las Vegas Sun. He is right there at Point Blank Zero in Las Vegas. Of course, right below him is Gregory. He's been handicapping for nearly 4 decades. And Kip Keefer, executive director of the Birmingham Racecourse Casino, is right below me. Of course, second to like Howard Stern as far as many mediums you've been on. You've been all over the place. I'm Tony Kurre. Of course, 40 years of sports radio, not to mention some classic rock as well. This is K4Wins, where we are clipping. We like to go around 70%. We hope you don't mind. What do you got to hit, Case? Around 56%, correct? 56% to break even in Las Vegas. 55, 50, 56% based on 10% juice. Is that what it is?
10%. It's like 52.85 or something like that.
So it's a little lower than that. So if you're hitting 50, upper 50s, you're doing pretty good. 60s is kind of rarefied. What are some of the best handicappers in Vegas? What do they traditionally hit on a yearly basis?
Anyone that says they're hitting over 56% long term is lying. You ask the best people in the world, they're hitting 55 or 56%. That's the absolute top level in the world against minus 110 lines. So if you can hit 55 or 56%, you're doing this at the highest level of anyone in the world.
How are you doing?
The difference is some of those people that put that out there, in Case will tell you, especially these guys that are charging just enormous prices for their picks. I mean, that's great when you go to somebody that says, hey, give me $500 for your weekend, and they give you their major play of the year, and it's a 10-unit play on somebody that's minus 300. Well, what the shit? I can do that too. I mean, like he's talking about, minus 110, that's something huge because, like, there's 7 NHL games tonight. How much of them are minus 110, Case, versus minus 150, 160, 380? Huge difference.
Yeah. What is your percentage for 2025, if you don't mind me asking?
I haven't really calculated it like that, and I'm betting so many different sports that it's kind of a breakdown sport by sport. And I just go more total and more ROI. But and then I've even my column where I used to do a little bit of everything. We've had some restructuring. I don't even do it anymore. But I mean, there were years. I think last year before we shut down that column, I was up maybe around 50,000 lifetime, and I was like 40 games below 500 because a lot of them and a lot of how I've had my success is taking these longer shots and being just stronger with the math. So a lot of times, I mean, in golf, like on a weekly basis, I didn't win last week, but I think like the shortest guy I bet was like 28-1. So I don't really get concerned with the percentage. Certainly if you took all the bets I made this year, I'm probably hitting somewhere in 40%, but I'm having a winning year mostly because
as long as you have a winning year. Listen, if you watch the starting lineup, which is a television show we do here locally, you're like, well, I don't live in Birmingham. You don't have to. Go to the YouTube channel, go to Tony Kurre Radio, or you go to ABC 3340, or just go to the starting lineup YouTube channel, and we do a little bankroll contest. In Case wins it every single year. You're at tops again. Looks like we're all in on our last weekend coming up here. But you know what? You look at his plays, and I mean, week in and week out cases 2-1-3 and 1-2 and 1-3 and 1-2 and 1-3 and 1. It's just, I mean, it adds up. And kudos to you for what you do, and that's what you do for a living. So you're very, very good at it. We love having you on the show for sure because of that. The rest of us pick up a piece. We're doing pretty well too. What are we doing so far this year, Kai? Since we're coming up on a brand new year of 2026, I know we just surpassed 1,000 wins, but how did we do this past week?
Oh, last week we were 40-24 on the week, so not too shabby. This week we're 3 games above 500 right now since the podcast, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So, still winning and sitting at 1,045 wins versus 610 losses on the year.
Okay, good. Special thanks to Duncan Dad and, of course, the Coastal Digital Sports Network for having us on, a partnership that we love. And we're working to get on VEASAN in 2026. Brent Musburger's stick. We'll do everything we possibly can to get out there so you can find us wherever you get your favorite podcast, wherever you watch your shows. But in the meantime, you can watch us on our YouTube channel. It is championship weekend, and we had a huge NBA record go down last night that I wanted to mention right off the top of the show. I'm sure you guys are aware of what happened with LeBron James last night. Yep. 1,297 games in a row that he scored double digits. By the way, that is 15.8 seasons. That is crazy.
Pretty good.
Listen, I'm turning 60 next year. I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, so I've gotten a chance to see both these guys. we can have this argument all day long. I know he's got more championships. I think LeBron James is the best basketball player that I think we'll ever see on an NBA court, period. Not only because, I mean, he's got longevity. He's, 40 years old. But what he's doing in the NBA right now is just silly. And he's banged up. He gets 8 points last night. And, of course, he passes the ball. Remember how he used to get drilled early in his career? Like, what the hell are you doing? Passing the ball with 2 seconds left. You had a chance to win the game. What's he do? He passed last night. They win the game on his pass last night. And, of course, he was asked the question, what about the streak? And he acted like he didn't even know what they were talking about. He's like, I don't care. We won.
Yeah, he knew.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he did. But I mean, he does. I mean, whether you like it or not, he plays incredibly unselfish. If he really did care about that record, he would have taken the shot himself last night because he was wide open. He had the opportunity, but he knows now he's the third pick on that team, and he's playing well, and the Lakers are looking good for it too. So congratulations, LeBron James, for everything. His 1,297 consecutive games. Double-digit stuff. All right, let's jump right in. I got a ton of emails, all kinds of tweets and things like that. Everyone wants to talk about, of course, the Iron Bowl. It was this past weekend. Now the championship game, Georgia, Alabama. We kind of went through some of the numbers. Alabama 6-1 against the spread. Georgia last 7 games. Basically, since Kirby Smart's taken over Georgia, Alabama has owned them, and now it's Kalen DeBoer's shot. Let's start right there, Kip. So Kalen DeBoer doesn't go to the playoffs last year. They're an underdog this weekend. Both you and I picked Georgia on the show. He loses this game against Georgia. What kind of pain is he feeling? What kind of pressure is he feeling from the Alabama fan base? Because he's had a really, really good year. I mean, it's been a great year. He had a great run, 5 games in a row where he won top 25 games. But if he loses to Georgia, they're out.
Well, I don't know if they're out because the committee has made some maneuvers on Tuesday night to kind of position them and kind of set the announcement out there that, you know, they're going to adhere to this. You don't get penalized for playing an extra game thing. You know, we've talked about the likelihood that a 3-loss team is going to be left out, assuming the 2-loss teams are going to survive. But the fact that they moved Notre Dame below Alabama on Tuesday is very significant. Plus, I saw the Vegas number on who's going to make the playoffs went crazy in terms of favoring Alabama and reducing the chances for Notre Dame. Now, you know, I think if people listen to this show consistently, we're all pretty much on the same page. Notre Dame is probably not even in the discussion as one of the top 12 teams. I think we all kind of feel like they're more in the discussion for the top 6 or 7 teams. But it looks to me like this committee is going in a direction where they're going to solve this Miami Notre Dame argument and avoid the embarrassment of picking one over the other based on moving the goalposts for their criteria every week by just leaving both of them out. That's what I think they're kind of moving toward. And I'm interested to hear your guys' opinion, but I think Alabama's position has been strengthened by some of the maneuvers that have happened this week, and maybe they are going to stick to that. We're not going to penalize them for going to their championship game, because it sure looks to me like Alabama's going to get in one way or the other, which I completely didn't think was the case last week.
Case, is Alabama one of the top 12 teams in college football right now?
Yeah, but I think they're borderline. This is the last thing I said on our show Tuesday. I don't usually, I try not to take victory laps, but I said that Alabama will not be the one to get screwed because they want to incentivize these conference championship games. I mean, It really is all about money. The TV means so much. I said Miami would definitely be out, and then if there's an upset, if BYU wins, I feel like Notre Dame's going to be the next team to get the boot. And I know there's even I wouldn't say conspiracy theory, but some people are kind of come to the idea, and I think part of the reason why you've seen the Notre Dame number trim even further is I didn't watch the show. I never watched the show. I hate it. The sport's so broken. I'm honestly kind of ready to move on from college football. It's such a side show, and you guys know it long. But I mean, I want to bet it. I just the following this part of it is not fun to me. But I guess there was some comment made that it's easier to take head-to-head into account if the teams are right next to each other. So I've heard some sharp people take the big prices on Notre Dame to miss the playoff with the thought that if BYU just plays it close, they could drop Notre Dame a spot, and then if they're right next to Miami, maybe they would take Miami. It's all just ridiculous. But the only way I see Alabama getting left out is if Georgia absolutely wallops them. I mean, I think they got to lose by like probably more than 2 touchdowns to me to drop below Notre Dame and Miami. That's just how I've read it. I really do think they value getting to the conference championship games, and they want to keep that cash cow intact. So I think Alabama's in a really strong position as long as they're competitive. At least how I view it. I could be wrong, but that's kind of been my take.
We've been doing this show for a long time, and I want you guys to answer a question. I'll go with Kai first. Everyone's looking at that head-to-head between Miami and Notre Dame, and there's no way in hell you could take Notre Dame or Miami because they won head-to-head. I am totally that blows me away that if you're going to be looking at a tiebreaker and you're going to go to head-to-head, yes, they were better on that particular Saturday, but does that mean that Alabama is not as good as Oklahoma or Oklahoma? Because people are going to make the argument, well, why should they be ranked? We see it all the time where one team's ranked above another team that just got beat by that team. It's because that team is still better than them. They may have had 5 turnovers. They just didn't win that particular day. And so I guess if you're looking for a tiebreaker, you can always look at head-to-head. But to sit there and make that argument that there's no way Notre Dame should be in because Miami beat them on the field back in week 2 is ridiculous to me. What's your thoughts, Guy?
Well, they've always said the eye test mattered, and the Alabama fans, which apparently the committee are, have rigged this for Alabama to make sure they're in. And the eye test should tell you over the last month that Alabama's not one of the top 12 teams in the country right now, not the way they're playing, struggling with South Carolina. And to hear the committee chair said they gave them more credit for a win at Auburn than Notre Dame's trouncing at Stanford when Notre Dame loses 2 running backs early in the game. Jeremiah Love, no chance at the Heisman now since he got hurt after 5 carries, 58 yards, came back 1 more carry, ended up with 66 yards and a touchdown, but it didn't matter. They were hurt. And now, so the Florida State win over Alabama in week 1 does not matter. It's not important. But the week 2 Miami over Notre Dame is important. Well, so which way are we? So it's definitely controversy. It's just kind of like this. I'm going to go on a soapbox. This new committee they have out for the Hall of Fame in baseball that's out there to cherry pick and put people in that the Hall of Fame's never going to vote in, like Barry Bonds, is probably going to get voted in this weekend by this new stupid committee that they've put together because somebody's butthole's hurt over who's not in. So anyway, I digress and go back. I'm not an Alabama fan, obviously. And I was all over Georgia for this weekend, but I can't bet that with Bobo being out, knowing how important he is to their offensive line, the calls he makes for a young Gunnar Stockton as far as experience-wise, I wanted to bet that. I'm still going to play the over in that game, but now I'm very hesitant. I would like to see what is going to happen with Ryan Williams if he's really got this $3 million NIL deal to go to LSU, which is bull crap, but still, I don't like the way the committee set this up, and they absolutely set it up where if Alabama wins, they could move and even host a first-round game now.
I think they're the smartest people on the face of the earth. I think they've done everything they possibly can do to make sure they save their own ass. They've got all their bases covered. Right now, anything can happen. They're smart. I mean, we sit there and call them idiots, and they're not watching football, but they're smart. They sit down and go, okay, listen, how can we make this to make sure that we don't look like idiots and we make sure everyone gets an opportunity to get in? Let me ask you this. Since you talked about Love and Notre Dame, we were talking about, sitting there penalizing Ole Miss because they don't have a head coach. Their head coach is gone. And that obviously changes the game. Do you change Notre Dame's opportunity to go play if their running back's out? A guy who obviously is a huge part of their offense?
Well, he's not going to be out. I mean, he's coming back, and he'll definitely be back in time for the playoffs. I mean, it's 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, he was hurt. I mean, and if it had been a game that there was a chance the other team could win, I think he'd have played. I absolutely do. He came back, carried once. Didn't look great, still gained 8 yards on the carry, and it was just simply a protection thing to take him out. And it's not like they don't have a good backup running back anyway.
Yeah. Case,
their backup running back would be starting at most schools.
Case, your thoughts on the head-to-head? I knew you wanted to chime in.
I was actually signalized. It was actually week 1. It was just a Monday game, so that's why I don't think week 2. I think you just got to contextualize it. I actually, I probably sound like a hypocrite if you listen to other things because sometimes I do think head-to-head has to matter. It does have to matter what you're doing on the field, but we got to contextualize. This was week 1 at Miami, where traditionally they have a huge home field advantage. Even though I know they don't have a good crowd, but the humidity and everything else. Miami in September and August has a huge advantage. Notre Dame, an extremely young team. They're starting a freshman quarterback, at all these spots. It's not like they got killed. It was a 3-point game. They nearly came back and won. Back then, I think they closed a 3-point favorite in that game. If they played right now, Notre Dame would be probably a 7.5-point favorite against, or on a neutral at home. Miami, they might only be like 4.5. But I mean, bottom line, it would mean a lot more to me, the head-to-head, if it was 3 weeks ago and Miami beat them. I just think you got to look at kind of the full picture. But I feel bad even arguing against Miami. Well, not really, because they did it to themselves. But I think Miami's one of the 12 best teams too.
No question.
Again, I'll just go back to I can't stand the ACC. I feel like the ACC really just just messed up the whole process. There's no way Miami should not be in your championship game. And if Miami's just in the championship game, then a lot of this is solved. But yeah, I just think, that the head-to-head is important, no doubt. I just think you have to look at the specifics of the head-to-head, and there's probably not one that can matter less than a week 1 game with a really young team on the road, and you still almost won. So that's why I still would have Notre Dame ahead of Miami.
We have the beauty. This is K4Wins, by the way, K4Wins.com, K4Wins.com. Go there and get to all of our plays. We are just killing it this year. We've got the opportunity now to see a replay of several teams, including, of course, the Big 12 championship we saw several weeks ago when BYU lost 29-7. We'll talk about that game in a second. But we have seen Alabama and Georgia, Kip, earlier in the season, a 3-point ball game. In that particular ball game, Alabama 13 of 18 on third down conversions. I know they had that really long, super long holding the ball. I think I forget how long it was, but I think it was a 13-14 play. And of course, Ty Simpson looked fantastic in that game. I think he was 28 of 34. What do you expect to see in the championship game tomorrow?
I think both teams have reached a little bit different spot. That was an early season week 4 game. Georgia's defense was still kind of working out the kinks. Alabama really exploited that. I thought their plan was outstanding to start that game. They actually had a little bit of success. They didn't run for a lot of yards, right around 100 total, but they were getting 3 and 4, never putting themselves in bad positions, being behind the sticks by the third down. They went 9 for their first 9 on third down conversions. So in the second half, things really evened out on that stat. But it was all 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s. I know the very first one, Georgia actually got them in a 3rd and 11, and Simpson ran for the first time in the game and got the first down and kind of set that tone. But I mean, he was masterful. They were running really good routes. He was just super sharp. We just haven't seen that from this Alabama offense in recent weeks, and I think a lot of it's attributable to the fact that for whatever reason their running game has really stalled out. I say they had just enough success against Georgia where, they'd get 3 yards, they get 2 yards, it'd be 3rd and 4. And those situations are a lot more manageable than if you're 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, longer yardage. So I think that the defenses have changed. One thing about the Georgia defense, too, that's been weird this year, everybody kind of wrote them off and said their defense is not very good. But against the run, even from the beginning of the year, they have been pretty darn good against the run. It's one of the reasons they were able to win at Tennessee. Tennessee lit them up in the air, but when Heupel pivoted to his usual conservative, we got to run the football kind of attitude in the second quarter, Georgia pretty much stopped them and changed the momentum of the game. So the Georgia defensive line has grown a lot during the year, and they have pretty much shut down the running games for everybody they've played. The secondary's still been vulnerable. So I find this kind of a fascinating chess match here. Is Alabama going to come up with enough innovation and getting the ball out quick? Because now Georgia's mustering a pass rush, which earlier in the year they had none. I just think this defensive front has come of age. All the linebackers have had to play. C.J. Allen was out for a game and a half. They broke in Cole, their super freshman 5-star guy, got a lot of playing time. So they've got more pieces now. I think Georgia's just better suited for this game than they were the first matchup. But you still have the mental thing, which I don't even like to talk about, But, when something happens a couple times, you kind of shrug it off. But Alabama has had such success against Georgia. They've got to have a lot of swagger coming into this game. And remember, Georgia has never beaten Alabama in Atlanta, which, of course, are the stages for national championship games and SEC championship games on that same field. I think the record's like 1-6 for Georgia against Alabama. So the mental factor definitely in the Crimson Tide column. And maybe, I don't know how much the players are perceptive of the situation, but I'm sure people are telling them, hey, you guys are in no matter what. Where before I'm sure the coaches are still saying you're playing for your lives here. I wonder if the mental aspect, because Alabama being a team that had to win, I think was a big factor. Georgia knowing they're going to be in regardless of the results of this game. But I think maybe that's been negated a little bit because now, the perception is Alabama's in, win or lose, unless Case's scenario comes up. If Georgia blows them out, they could certainly be eliminated. But I just don't see that happening. I think this is a field goal game either way.
And once you're talking about a 3-loss team getting in there, and I know we're not going to go the Texas route, but Texas certainly can make an argument. Hey, listen, we could have played Northern Illinois the first week of the year, but we decided to play Ohio State. Now we're getting reprimanded for losing to the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes only by 7 on the road. I will say this. We talked a lot before the Iron Bowl about how Alabama needed to find the running game, and they did do that. Jam Mills, should I said, well, he rushed for 5.5 yards per carry. Jam Mills did. He did really well until he got banged up and lost. They only had 117 yards. 3.1 yards per carry in that first game. Of course, Chauncey Bowens averaged 10 yards per carry, so that had something to do with that. But you were going against an Auburn defense that, notably in the SEC, is one of the best rushing defenses, not only in the SEC but in the country. And Alabama, they had a lot of second shorts and third and shorts that would play really well and getting
makes a difference.
Yeah, getting up 17-0 in the game. The other thing I think was really interesting, and I know that Kai Gregory's unloaded his entire wad on the over 47 in the Georgia-Alabama SEC championship game by our bankroll contest. By the way, if you're looking for a play, we'll give you a first play right off the bat. Kai's loving the over 47. That first time around, 31 points at halftime. They only scored 7 points in the second half. So both defenses got up and got done with it in the second half. Kai, why'd you go there over 47?
Stupidity. I mean, it'd probably be a 21-17 game. There are other things I like. I was just like, you know what, screw it. None of these guys are going to be on this. So I'll just throw this one out there.
Yeah, because when that was announced, we all kind of looked at each other like, "Wow, that's a bold pick." Because the perception most people is it's going to be kind of a lower scoring game. But I don't disagree with your strategy, Kai, because I'm starting to learn more and more that every week, whatever my strongest inclination is, go the other way.
There you go. I mean, it's indoors, and typically speaking, both of these teams, have decent speed. I kind of hate it with Boba being out, but I really like the aspect of what I think Branch brings to the Georgia's offense. I mean, he can bust one out at any time. And if Ryan Williams is going to play, who the hell knows what happened in, and all this drama that's probably nothing. Ryan Williams can bust one out at any time. And I think the reason for liking the overs, I just don't think Alabama's going to try to run that much because they have not been able to. And it looks like Jam Miller's still hurt. Granted, whoever the other two that were running the other day did okay. But I just think you're going to have, some scoring.
We are hearing that Ryan Williams has already made a deal in the transfer portal, and he's going to be going to LSU. And that was the reason why, obviously, he was not on the football field this past week. I'd be out there playing his ass and try to bang him up. I'd be getting clipped left and right. If he's going to go out, he's going out in the ball of glory, but I'm going to get it done. No, I mean, defensively speaking, you're talking about perennially two great defensive teams, and certainly I'm looking at that second half. Georgia's defense was so much better in the second half of the football games than the first half, and I love when Kirby Smart said, you're so good at making adjustments. He goes, that's terrible. I hate the fact that I have to make adjustments. That means my game plan's not good when I'm having to make adjustments at halftime. But, yeah, we were all kind of miffed by that over 47 in the game, but there's a reason why it's 47. By the way, Kip had the under 48.5 this past game in the Iron Bowl, and it fell just under hitting 47 as Bama went for the touchdown and got that.
Never in doubt.
Never in doubt. And by the way,
when DeBoer goes for the win. We haven't talked about that. Now, I'm not going to suggest DeBoer had the point spread in mind, but knowing that every Alabama fan, booster, everybody on earth, no matter what the line is confident that Alabama is always going to cover. Kai can testify to that. To go for that, pretty bizarre to me. To go for that for the touchdown instead of kicking the field goal. Of course, Talty's about as reliable as me running out there trying to make one, but
I think you're better, Kip. I think you could bet. I think you're better.
Oh, well, maybe at one time I could nail it from 20 yards, but my point is, it's a very interesting and influential decision there because that made Alabama cover that night, and I'm not suggesting.
And also put it over the total too, the over 40, because it ended up going down to 46.5 right before kickoff. So
wow,
you had the over, you bet the under, and you had the under. I couldn't believe he snapped that ball too, but so much weird shit happens down there at Jordan-Hare. And I love the fact that Kalen said, listen, we're going to control this game. If we lose, it's going to be because of something we do, not something they do. And so he went for it. And if in fact they didn't get it, Auburn was going to have to go, a good 40.
Yeah, and it was still a tie game. They weren't behind. So exactly. that makes a big difference. And I think maybe he took the heart. I mentioned it on this show a couple weeks ago. Kirby Smart's comment this year on really taking a lot of chances against Texas. Kirby Smart says the margin of this league is so small. You've got to play to win. You've got to be aggressive in every situation. And maybe some coaches, Case mentioned on Tuesday, that DeBoer always kind of had this reputation before. And last year may have been a little tentative being in this big stage, but looks like he's getting back to being Kalen DeBoer now.
Yep. Anybody else got anything else they want to talk about the SEC championship game before we get into the Big 12? I want to get into this Tech segment only because I've got to play in this game.
And I'm dying to get to the Big 10.
Yeah, we got to get to the Big 10 too because that line has actually come down a little bit, 4.5 to 4. So the money's going to Indiana. I just wanted to throw out the fact that on our show, on our starting lineup, I let the entire wad go on Texas Tech. I love this football team. They are 10-1 against the spread. They've got the best ATS this year. By the way, BYU 8-3. Against the spread. The only game that didn't cover was against Arizona State. That 26-22 game was weird, but I go back, and I love the fact that we get a chance to go back on a game where Texas Tech obviously has already beaten BYU 29-7 that game. In that game, Texas Tech had a hard time in the red zone. They ended up kicking 5 field goals, so that score should have been even worse. And you're talking about a team that's only given up 100 points all season long. Texas Tech's defense is number 1 in the country against the run. I know in that particular ball game that Martin was out. E.J. Martin, he was out. He's kind of banged up the first time around. But he's got 1,229 yards this year and, of course, 11 touchdowns. He is purely healthy for BYU, so I think that's going to be a little bit of a change. But Texas Tech's defense, lights out, have just been fantastic. They also had 3 turnovers in that ball game. So it's going to be an interesting ball game. But I think Texas Tech, I just don't see them giving up more than 14 points in that game. And if we get up 12.5, I think they easily get to 30. So I'm loving Texas Tech minus the 12.5. I know that line's stayed put. What's it done out there in Las Vegas, Case?
Not one of my bigger bets, but I hate to say I am on the opposite side. I took some BYU plus 13.5 early in the weekend, and it has come my way. I'm seeing mostly 12.5 here. This is one where I have to be prepared to be totally wrong, and you be right in Texas Tech. Just the same thing happens again. I can't believe we've gotten here. As I was so down on BYU at the beginning there, I just feel like they've gotten so much better. I think they're might be the most improved team in the nation. This was the same line Texas Tech was laying at Texas Tech. But what was that game, 3 or 4 weeks ago? And yeah, I know they won by 21 or whatever, but now we're moving to a neutral. I feel like BYU has continued to get better. And I do get the argument that it could have been worse. Texas Tech got stopped at the goal line once. But I also think in the second half, BYU, it seemed like they found some stuff. They were moving the ball easier. It seemed like they kind of found a little bit of their rhythm. So, and I really don't want BYU in the playoff. I have futures positions on both Notre Dame and Miami. I don't think Miami really has as much of a chance that they'd slide in as the last team, but I really think Notre Dame has a chance to win the whole thing if they get in. So I definitely don't want BYU to win and Notre Dame to get knocked out. So I guess taking the big point spread is also kind of a.
I think another reason you look at that too. And I didn't mean to interrupt. You can sit there and look at the BYU schedule. Texas Tech schedule ain't much better. I mean, it's not like they were knocking any top 25 teams off, but they did in their victories, in their 11 victories, they won by an average of 35.6 points per ball game. I mean, they blew out everybody they played with the exception of that one game. And maybe that plays in that 12.5 point spread. If they get up you're going to look at taillights if they get up against BYU. And again, BYU, I thought they looked fantastic until they slipped up several weeks ago. They got the loss, but I agree with you that they look really good, particularly against Cincinnati. They look really good the last 2 or 3 ball games of the year, and I think it's going to be a good Big 12. But I just think Texas Tech. I love playing really great defenses. Great defenses win championships. Defenses always show up in championship games. They always show up. Great offenses don't always show up, but great defenses always show up in championship games. And I think Texas Tech is going to shut down that game, and I don't think the quarterback's worth the rip. So I think they're going to be pretty good shape. Any of you guys got any other thoughts on the Big 12 before we go to the Big 10?
I just will say that I'm kind of rooting for Texas Tech because I think they're more the model of what we should be looking at. Joey McGuire, the coach, makes $3.7 million a year. That's like a pauper compared to, Lane Kiffin now is going to be making $13 million. Kirby's right about that level, the top level coaches. But instead of paying their recycled coach, over $10 million, they spent $30 million to improve their roster. That makes a lot more sense to me. The coaches, the coach thing is way out of control. It's commanded way too much of our attention. I think this experiment here, the highest level McGuire coached on as a head coach was high school football before he got this job. He was on the Baylor staff for a couple of years as receivers coach, but this formula is intriguing to me. And so I'm kind of a closet Texas Tech fan here because, if we're moving toward more of a pro football model, then it makes a hell of a lot more sense to me to spend your money on players instead of coaches.
No, Case, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, the margins are just so tight right now. I made this game 11 to 13 and a half, which I bet's not a huge margin. But you can rewind our show a few weeks. I think the Texas Tech home game, I was on Texas Tech. I loved them that game. I think I bet them 9.5 or 10. So it's just usually when this happens and the teams play each other at the same time, if there's a big move in the market, especially from home field to neutral, that's kind of where I came up with BYU. But yeah, I agree with. Seems like you guys' overall sentiment. And the scary thing is I feel like Texas Tech could have been even better this year. They lost a lot of their skill players early. They're still one of the more beaten up sides. So if they, the only thing that worries me is the transfer portal's kind of been proven to be a crapshoot. You can absolutely nail it one year, spend the same amount of money, and not the next year. Just look at Florida State. But if Texas Tech, this year it certainly worked. If McGuire and his connects are better at evaluating and knowing who's going to fit into their system, this might not just be a 1 year thing.
The legend tried to pull a fast one on our show yesterday, and of course we record our show. People in the television world know that, but we actually are live on Saturday mornings from 10:30, 11 o'clock. He was trying to play the North Texas Mean Green against the point spread against Tulane. We'll talk about that game, but it actually goes off tonight. We'll have a play on that coming up here in just a few minutes. So he had to go pick a different game. He picked the Cincinnati Bengals and Ohio State Buckeyes. He kept it all in the great state of Alabama in a 2-team parlay. And I all I can remember is Case going, listen, I cannot believe that the wrong team's favorite here. I cannot believe that Indiana's even catching 6, and that's when it opened up, I guess. And so I kept thinking to myself, okay, go ahead and take Ohio State all you want. We know that's where the public money goes. Ohio State. The propaganda's been out there. Indiana, they played a crappy schedule last year, but here they are right back in the same spot. And now we should probably give them just a little bit more credit for putting it together, Signetti's crew, for a second year in a row. Kyle, what's your thoughts on this line? It's 4.5 and now down to 4. It looks like a snickerdoodle, man. It looks like it'd be this again. If I'm just walking in, and I'm not a big time gambler, I'm loving Ohio State in this game. But if I really look at the numbers, I probably want to shed away a little bit.
Number one defense in the country, Ohio State, by the numbers, number 24 offense. Indy's number 4 defense, number 5 offense. Mendoza, they've got some guys coming in this. Even Signetti talked about it. He's been there before, but most of the players on the team, hadn't been in that situation before. So it's going to be interesting. If I play the game, I've got to go Indiana, I think. I don't see a ton of points being scored in the game. And I actually think that the big difference maker in this game could be Indiana's defense.
All right, Big Ten boy, what you got, man? Give me the full rundown, Kip.
It's so hard to assess this game because both of them played such cream puff schedules, and I don't really know what to expect. I just think the pedigree of Ohio State, they've been there before. I'm not overwhelmed. The most of in an Indiana game I watched all year was the second half of the Penn State game, where Penn State was dominating the game and dominating the Indiana defense. Singleton, a running back that I was really high on for Penn State, which by the way, they still haven't hired a head coach. This is high school signing week. Penn State right now ranks 143rd in the recruiting rankings for next year. They've only signed 2 guys going into today. What a Titanic is going on.
And Virginia Tech has moved from 100th to like 22nd.
Yeah, because Franklin's taking all the guys he's already recruited to Virginia Tech.
It was 124th. It went from 124 to 22nd.
Wow.
What he did. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy? Yeah.
I mean, they are in terrible trouble. And this could affect their program for the next 5 or 6 years. But the bottom line is, I think Ohio State's more the proven commodity. They've got the bigger stars, the more name brand guys, and that's probably not a good way to analyze the game. But the fact that these guys have been on the stage, I still. Indiana's going to have to show me. I don't believe in Indiana. I mean, the win at Oregon is looking better and better because Oregon kind of proved me wrong at the end of the year and survived I thought they would lose one of the 2 games between USC and Washington. They won them both. So that win kind of stands out, and it's better than any Ohio State win this year. But I just can't get past the fact that I still think Indiana. I just can't quite accept the fact that they're a legitimate contender. So I got to lean Ohio State here, but it's really a hard game for me to forecast because I really don't know what to expect.
Case, you've been all over Indiana, and of course, I kind of believe that the Heisman Trophy will be won or lost in this game. If Mendoza comes out and has 3 touchdowns and 0 picks and throws for a couple hundred yards, and they win the football game. I do think that I think Indiana has to win this football game for Mendoza to win the Heisman Trophy. I really do. I don't think it's, and even if he comes up 11-21 for $1.50, as long as they win the football game, I think the trophy's his. But where's your thoughts? Have you come off that number at the number at 4? Is it still too high for you?
Yeah, you could still find a 4.5. It's still a little too high for me. I mean, my biggest bet of the week was Indiana plus 6.5. I just don't. If you look at any of the data, any way you slice it, there's just no way you can get to that high of a number. And even 4.5, I think is too high. So it would be a shorter bet for me now. I could be wrong. It's hard to get out of your mind. Last year, I think they lost 38-13 to Ohio State. It was a little bit closer than that, but they were undefeated going into that game. But I will say, I mean, we talked about it all offseason, or the whole college football media talked about it all offseason. I don't know if it's really fair to compare this Indiana team to last year's. They put in the money, I think not quite as much as Texas Tech, but they got a $20 million NIL budget. They've poured in all these resources. Last year's team was basically like, spare parts from James Madison that Cignetti knew could put in his culture. He picked off some other good players. I mean, Rourke was awesome in the MAC, but it was more like the scrappy bottom level college football guy. I mean, this year they have NFL guys all over the roster, not as many as Ohio State, but I mean, from a talent perspective, it's night and day that this Indiana team has a lot more high-level guys than last year's did. So I kind of stray from looking back to last year. I mean, that being said, I don't think anyone can match with what Ohio State has in that regard. With the receivers they've produced over the last 5 years are just ridiculous. Now they have 2 more this year that some people would say are the 2 best in the country. Defensively, they've got top 2-day NFL draft guys at every level. So it's hard for anyone to compare with Ohio State in that regard, but I don't know. They've had some ups and downs too. I think if you look at the numbers, it should be a much closer game. It should be tight one way or the other. So I'd be taking the underdog regardless.
Mendoza, sophomore, junior.
I think he's a junior, or it could be redshirt sophomore, but he's played at least 3 years. I don't know. I wouldn't think he'd have a COVID year. He's way too young. He's got to be a junior.
I think it's amazing. It's a great story when you don't have a clue who you're talking about until halfway through the season. Now all of a sudden Mendoza can win a Heisman Trophy because no one was talking about this guy preseason. I don't even know what the numbers were. If there were numbers up on this guy preseason, it's amazing.
And I'm going to stand up here for a guy that I typically don't really stand up for, but I just don't see how those guys, what they've done is more impressive than what Diego Pavia has done, and the numbers he's put up and the way that he single-handedly, if the Heisman Trophy is the de facto MVP of college football, Diego Pavia wins in a landslide. I'm sorry, Mendoza and Julian saying the schedule that they've played and the performance that kid has provided. I just can't believe that he's not being considered on the same level or if not even higher than those two Big Ten guys.
Well, I think the Heisman market's really interesting. Pavia is leading all the straw polls this week. There's been a giant move.
Okay, well, that's good to
market.
See.
It basically comes down to me to if Mendoza wins this game. I guess where I disconnect is I don't think Vanderbilt really played that great of a schedule. I mean, what's their best win? Missouri, if their quarterback doesn't get hurt, they hold on and win. I know this. We're going to butt heads on this all the time. I just think the middle of the Big Ten's better than you do. I don't think Vanderbilt's schedule is much better than Indiana's. Am I crazy?
Yeah, I think so because
right.
They lost at Alabama in a close game. They lost at Texas in a close game. They won in Neyland by a bigger margin than anybody's beaten Tennessee in Knoxville in years. I think the Vanderbilt
2 straight home games. I mean, their losses are better. Well, Indiana hasn't lost. The best thing about Vanderbilt to me is you can say they have 2 close losses. I mean, I don't think they have any. I got beating Tennessee.
I mean, I'll concede that, but Indiana, the win against Oregon is certainly screams a better accomplishment than anything that Vanderbilt's done. But as far as the week-to-week schedule, just playing SEC teams instead of, the bottom teams. I mean, I know you're a Big Ten defender, and there's 3 or 4 teams in the middle that are pretty good. The Iowas, the USCs, Illinois at some points, although they fell off toward the end of the year. But the bottom is so terrible. UCLA and Rutgers and Maryland and Michigan State is horrid. Even Minnesota's bad. Just a lot of really Purdue. I didn't even mention the crown jewel of the whole group. So I just think, and it's amazing how Indiana and Ohio State seemed like they played every one of those teams.
You put the numbers side by side. Diego, 27 touchdowns, 8 picks, 3,192 yards. His QBR was 87.8. Fernando Mendoza, 32 touchdowns, only 5 picks. His QBR, 88.3, and threw for 2,750 yards. If you want to put the numbers side by side, obviously Mendoza's got a little bit of an edge, not over our yardage, but as far as in touchdowns and picks, it's pretty doggone close. And you may be right, Kip. If Indiana loses by 14 this game, they're going to have to come really, really close. If they don't win this game, they got to have a nail biter in order for him to win a Heisman Trophy. Probably may still end up having it. I love the fact that they wait. I wish they wait till after bowl season to do the Heisman Trophy, because the biggest, best games of their careers normally are coming up after the Heisman Trophy is given out. At least they wait till after championship weekend. So we'll find out. Unfortunately, we will not have a chance to see Pavia play again because Vanderbilt has nothing to play for. So,
unless they schedule that game they're talking about playing this weekend.
Everyone has offered to go to Mexico City and play anybody in the country, yes.
There you go. All right, a couple other games. James Madison, 23.5 against our homeboys Troy, the Trojan man. North Texas minus 2.5. By the way, Legend was going to take North Texas minus 2.5. Makes me wonder if I should play that game later on tonight. 66.5, so over under. I was just going to play North Texas team total and game over. Just hope.
Yeah, but you got to keep in mind in that game. I know they've been running a lot, but it's been raining all weekend in New Orleans. It's supposed to rain today. That's going to be a disgustingly wet field.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which means the receivers are going to know exactly where to run.
I'm more concerned. Both of these two teams like to run the ball a lot.
Yeah. And then
people don't realize that with those two teams, they run the ball a lot. That is going to affect the footing. Sure, you could get out there. Don't get me wrong. I hope North Texas wins. I do. This is what I'm calling the play for the portal bowl, because all these kids are looking for somewhere to go next year if they don't follow their coaches.
Where's that championship game played at?
I think it's in the Superdome.
I was going to say it's in the Superdome, right? So
I thought it was at Tulane.
Well, that's where Tulane plays their home games, at the Superdome.
Tulane has their own stadium now, but you guys could be right. It could be the Superdome. I think they've still at least one regular season game at the Superdome. Okay. I really thought AAC was home team, so I think it's at Tulane. But
Yeah,
I'll
it's
check.
at
I'll double
Tulane.
check.
Okay,
It's
well, if
outside.
that's the case, then weather does come into play.
Yeah. The other game, Duke, Virginia. Does anyone really care? The line was
Well,
3.5.
hey, so you got Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State tonight. Kennesaw
Yep.
State 2.5-point favorite. I know they lost by 9, and it probably wasn't that close last time they played. But Kennesaw State outgained Jacksonville State by 100 and something yards and had 4 turnovers. And again, they lose by 9.
And the game was at
absolutely
Jacksonville
love
State too. So
Kennesaw
that,
State.
yeah.
I love Kennesaw State tonight, and I'm scared. I want to really hear what Case has to say about this. Boise's defense, okay, but Madsen, since they've been out, and the line's moving my way. I'm going to wait longer, but I know the defense sucks, but I've been on them all year. I love UNLV tonight against Boise.
Still my gut tells me UNLV will win, and right away I bet UNLV plus 3.5. But that was before I realized Madsen is playing tonight. He's back. I just think their offense is way better. I'm kind of contradicting myself here. I use the example of why I bet BYU that the line moved to a neutral field. I mean, UNLV played at Boise. It was a little bit longer ago. It was 2 months ago, and they were a 13-point dog. Now it's we've taken some Boise money this morning. We're up to 5, but it's 8 points less now. So that kind of gives me kind of makes me shake a little bit. But for better or worse, I did fire prematurely on UNLV plus 3.5. So I thought there was no way Madsen was going to be back. He is. It really just comes down to UNLV's been so much better on defense over the last month. I wrote a story about it today. If you want to deep dive a little bit more into this game at LasVegasSun.com. And I know some people say, well, it's just the schedule, but I don't think that really checks out. I mean, they played Hawaii and Utah State, both who have been amazing offensively in that stretch. And I mean, early in the year when the defense was really bad, they played like Idaho State and Miami of Ohio. I mean, they were giving up big yardage to more terrible teams now. So if UNLV's defensive uptick they've shown over the last month, where they've been pretty respectable, pretty good, I think they have a really good chance at winning this game. I do think it's big, though, that Madsen's going to play again and not Max Cutforth, who's been pretty good, actually, last week. I mean, the only reason they got into this game is he put up like 350 yards against Utah State last week, who really can't defend. But, I feel like it just comes down to do you believe in UNLV's defense? Because they've been really good over the last month. If they can do that again in Boise, in the cold, in the elements, it might snow tonight, then I think they have a good chance.
It kind of sets up for the under 60 with everybody thinking Mountain West, we've got to go over. And it's 59.5, 60 now. So it kind of may set up like that outside in the snow.
60 points is a lot of points, unless it's 35-30 at halftime. And it looks like it's nothing. When you have the over 60, man, it is hard to get there. I got to do, and that's the other North Texas game is 66.5. You wonder why the rain would not play. By the way, it is played at Ulan Stadium. You're correct. It's played at Tulane Stadium. So you wonder why that line is at
good call.
It sounds like a lot, but UNLV and Boise did put up 90-something the first game. I think it was 6-38.
That is true.
Like that.
We're going to get into some NFL. This is the last show we do before NFL on Saturday, Sundays, Thursday night games. We certainly look at as well. We're going to talk about that. Before we do that, though, because we have an hour, we want to pack it in there. We do want to talk about some college hoops real quick, because I know that Kai was all over some incredible matchups. I mean, every single night there's just an incredible matchup. And, of course, we are heavy college football until March Madness comes around the corner. We'll be all over it. We're good at those, too. But give me some of those big matchups coming this weekend there, Kai.
Tonight, I mean, if you don't want to watch football, you got Gonzaga at Kentucky. So you've got two of the top 10. Actually, no, Kentucky's not ranked top 10 in the power rankings, but Gonzaga's in there at 8. I mean, tomorrow you've got 2 and 4 in the power rankings. Iowa State at Purdue. Purdue's only a 5-point favorite. Duke at Michigan State early in the year. That's incredible. Louisville at Indiana is not as big a game, but that's there. Rutgers, Michigan, Florida State, Houston, and Florida State could be sneaky good. You just never know. They'll get beat by.
But Georgia just beat them by 40 points as a 1.5-point underdog.
I know. Illinois at Tennessee, Ole Miss, St. John's, Auburn at Arizona tomorrow.
Interesting.
Some great games going this weekend in college basketball, and cannot wait till we get to spend a little bit more time and talk about them more. When not that I'm happy college football's over, but when you've got 30 games and 20 of them suck. And there's 70-point spreads in college football versus 150 basketball games. And you can go in and look at something like the Ivy League or the Mountain West or AAC or something like that to get better matchups than just the top 25 that everybody looks at. Can't wait.
Hey, by the way, and I'm glad your boy is part of the services. We thank you for all the service he does. Let's talk Army Navy real quick. I got a chance actually to go to that game, and I would love to make it. I don't think I can travel, but only 4.5.
Switch it over here. I'll go.
I got an opportunity to go,
Yeah.
man. I would love. It's a bucket list thing. I'd love to go to that game sometime. And I know as a proud papa, you'll see several of those before it's all over. But 4.5. Line looks a little small for Navy over Army. Am I missing something here, you guys?
Maybe it's just that they never score in these games. They're always like
They're ugly. Yeah,
yeah,
16-7.
It'll be so low scoring. But I mean, if you would have just asked me right now, I have not made a number, and I hadn't even heard it until you said it. If you would have asked me what it was going to be, I think I probably would have said like Navy 6.5. Maybe I would have said 7. So yeah, it does look a little short, but you always got to keep in mind that the average score in this game the last 20 years has been like 20, 21, 23 points. So it's kind of hard to pull away when it's that low scoring.
I'll take Navy.
You like Navy?
Yep.
I think Navy's maybe the best team in the AAC, and they just they didn't get it done, but they sure finished the year impressively. And I mean, they certainly look on paper better than Army, who doesn't seem to have any explosiveness whatsoever. Because Navy actually has introduced a brand new wrinkle to their game. They actually throw the ball on occasion, which Army still hasn't graduated to that point yet. So from that standpoint, I like Navy in the game.
By the way, the over-under 38.5. You want to go back and look at
I think that's an under.
Last year, it actually would have gone over 31-13. They scored 44 points, and it did go over the total. The year before, back in 2023, I remember this game, the over-under was 28. and it pushed. It pushed a 28, 17-11. The year before, 32.5, and it went over. So 2 of the last 3 have gone over, actually. We had a 13-17 game, over 36, went under. 15-0 back in 2020, 31-7 in 2019, 10-17 2018. So, yeah, we've actually had 2 of the last 3 actually go over the total. So maybe we've seen something. Listen, if the Navy's going to throw the football, good night. I mean, that's usually you see like a 2 of 5 for 17-yard line, and now all of a sudden you start to see some fireworks. So that's pretty good stuff. So, all right, NHL, you guys were like jibber jabbering right before we came on the air. What's going on in the NHL? And again, our show goes every Tuesday and Friday. We're looking to add a third show because we just need more time. We're on every single Tuesday and Friday on our YouTube channel, on Tony Kurre Radio, wherever the Coastal Sports Network, the Digital Sports Network. Check out their page. They're fantastic. SR1029thegame.com. They do wonderful work, and we greatly appreciate Duncan, Dad, of course, the entire crew for partnering up with us. But we're on every single Tuesday and Friday at 10 o'clock a.m. Central Time. Anything else going on in the NHL you guys want to talk about? Then we'll get into the pros real quick.
I mean, I think it's kind of been swept under the rug NHL-wise. There's so much else going on, but the Avalanche are on like a historic pace. I mean, they have an outside shot at the all-time regular season points record. Now, of course, every loss counts when that happens, and they lost last night. But hopefully you listened to me for the last year beating the drum with the Avalanche, because this looks like the best team. And who knows, anything can happen in the hockey playoffs. But regular season-wise, this looks like the best regular season team we've had in the NHL probably since maybe Tampa's first Cup team, or the first one of this this era, like 5 or 6 years ago.
All right. Anything else from you guys?
We're gonna have 2 or 3 plays put up from there.
Okay, good.
I think you need to look at. I think all of us are guilty of this, but right now there might be a little bit of a transition going on in the league, because coming into the year, everybody was pretty high on the usual suspects, the 2-time defending champion Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes, and both of them are leaking oil right now. I mean, they're not playing very well. They both got beat at home last night. So I think looking at some of the matchups when those teams are involved, I mean, they're still usually minus 180, sometimes 210. Don't be afraid to take some of the middling kind of, dog teams like the Sabres or the Bruins or the Maple Leafs. That's kind of my alert team of the week. The Maple Leafs in the last 3 games have actually started to play like they, actually, have a care in the world, because they were kind of mailing it in earlier in the year. I think that's a team you can watch to trend up this week. And these teams with these young stars, the Sharks, the Blackhawks, with Connor Bedard, who looks like he was supposed to be all world last year. He's just a rookie. This guy is monstrous. And the kid in Minnesota who signed the biggest contract in the NHL because that was the only way the Wild was going to keep him. I always pronounce his name wrong. Case Casper.
Kaprizov.
I put the S before the P. Kaprizov is fabulous. So I would really keep an eye on those young teams as they get better with their superstar players. Maybe it's time to start dismissing, Case and the Avalanche absolutely on target. I don't think they're going to keep the pace. They only lost 2 games all year. I put out the alert this week that they're due to have a little bit of a rough spot, but this team is completely stacked. But maybe start looking at some of these young teams and not being afraid to play some dogs right now in hockey. I think is the way to go.
An absolute killer. It's got to be the best weekend of NFL schedules we've seen so far. And of course, it got kicked off last night. Everyone was jumping on the Dallas Cowboy bandwagon. They had won 3 in a row, and everyone was talking about, okay, this is the Dallas Cowboys we look at, and there's the Detroit Lions, 2 and 3.
The defense came back to roost.
Then they came back and laid a 44 Hummer on the Dallas Cowboys last night. And obviously, not only got the outright win, but the against the spread win too. But you got all kinds of Steelers, Ravens, Colts, Jags, a pair of 8-4 teams. You got the Eagles 8-4 against the Chargers 8-4. You got the Texans and Chiefs. That game's obviously huge for the Chiefs. You got the Bears, the Packers 9-3 and 8-3. You even got my Bengals now catching only 5.5 at the Bills, who seem to have fallen off just a little bit. That should be interesting. Start right there because that was a game that legend pulled out of his ass right off the bat. He's like, oh my God, Cincinnati Bengals plus 5.5. Any chance the Bengals? For some reason, I have a feeling the Bills get it right against my Bengals this weekend. I know Burrow's back. Their red zone, by the way, the Bengals red zone ranks 31st right now in the NFL. They get inside the 20. If they're not scoring outside the 20, they're not scoring. McPherson can only hit so many field goals, but they cannot score inside the 20. The red zone's terrible. But what do you think the Bills do against my Bengals? And talk about some other games. Case, what do you got?
I think I said it Tuesday, but I bet Bengals plus 6.5. Wasn't a huge edge. I made it 5, which is basically where it is now. So I probably wouldn't bet it now. There's been so much talk about how some of these other quarterbacks haven't been as good. I mean, Josh Allen hasn't looked great this year other than a game or two. I know he had like 6 touchdowns against whoever it was a couple weeks ago, but James Cook's kind of powered their offense. I don't know if Cincinnati's capable. I would just put a ton of guys in the box and force them to do something other than pound the ball. I think Burrow will be better in week 2. So still a slight lean to the underdog there. Not one of my bigger bets. A lot of the other bigger games you mentioned, this always scares me, but I just like a lot of favorites this week. I think the Sunday night game is Chiefs, Texans, and that number has gotten to 3. People are just down on the Chiefs. I just feel like the pendulum has swung too far. I mean, I think they're 1-6 in games decided by less than a touchdown. Where last year we talked about time and time again they were like 12-1. They just got every break. Now I feel like everyone's going against them. I feel like some Chiefs money will come, so I would jump on the Chiefs now. And I also like the Eagles as a favorite on the road in the Monday night game. Maybe the Eagles are just too much of a mess, and it's not going to happen. It was concerning to see the news yesterday that Jalen Carter is going to be out a few weeks. But I unfortunately had to watch the whole Chargers-Raiders game for work purposes. And like Justin Herbert was just, I give him credit for gutting it out with the broken hand, but he was just not the same. And it doesn't matter when you're playing the Raiders, who are absolutely terrible, but he was clearly limited, even though it was his non-throwing hand. I think a lot of guys wouldn't even have come back in the game. They gloved it out. He played. Now he's had surgery. They say he's still going to play again. But man, from watching that whole game, I don't think he was the same with the glove over his hand. So I think this is a good spot for Philadelphia to get right as well.
Yeah, the Eagles feel like they're like a really good-looking, high-maintenance woman right now. You know what I mean? They're good. They know they're good. They've won a championship, and they just can't get out of their way. They just need to shut up and play football. They're infighting. They're talking about Jalen Hurts not being a good quarterback. They're sitting there 8-4. They're right where they need to be. And you talk about a team that wins close ball games. They get it done year in and year out. The last 3 years, they've been the best at it. And everyone's just complaining up in Philly land about how lousy their football team is. You're 8-4. I just shut up, play football. You got a good football team. Anything else you guys want to add in the NFL down below?
Seahawks kill the Falcons.
Fact for you: the Jets don't have an interception this year.
Oh wow!
On defense, that is an NFL record. Tua's going up there. He's 6-0 versus the Jets, but he's 0-7 when it's under 46 degrees, and it's going to be 41 at kickoff. So
those Hawaiians, they don't like the Samoans. They don't like that cold weather.
Indianapolis has lost 10 consecutive games to Jacksonville on the road. So
I love me some Jacksonville. I love that.
Cincinnati's won 8 in a row with Burrow at quarterback, but Buffalo 23-4 in December since 2020. All pretty big stats.
And those are all just worthless Tony Curry facts. It just don't mean shit. And there you go, bringing them up. I don't even have to bring up. I don't even have to bring up the Tony Curry stats anymore. You do it for me.
I did it for you. I always, if we were supposed to bring them, I had to look it up and bring it for you.
That's wonderful. I love it. And by the way, congratulations to the UV Blazers for picking Alex Mortensen as their new head coach for their football team. Several people have reached out to me and said, what's your thoughts? And my thoughts is that's the best they could probably get.
Yeah, I mean, they could have got somebody comparable, but what's the point? You already got the same guy you can hire.
You want the Presbyterian head coach? Sure. Do you want the OC from SMU? I think Casey Woods, he would have been a great hire if they could have gotten him. He bowed out. The OC from Navy bowed out. I mean, everyone just was like, no, we're good. And I think, and you brought this up, Guy, I know we got to go, but we have set a record. We brought this up on the starting lineup. 49.1% of all head coaches have been fired the last 2 years in college football. 60 different head coaches last year and this year have lost their jobs in college football, which, by the way, sets a record from something that was done back in the early 80s. So, I mean, there's been so much turnover. And now we're starting to see guys, like at Georgia Tech and Navy and everything, they're staying put. And the money's too good. I mean, I can sit there and say, wow, the difference between 3 million and 10 million is big, but those guys aren't making that jump. Some guys are going from 4 million. We're going to give you 5 million to come. They're like, you know what? My kid goes to school here. My wife likes to shop in here. I'm happy here. I'm a winner, so I'm good to go. And you see a lot of guys stay put. I love that. I wish Lane Kiffin maybe would have thought to do that, but
You're a lot closer to me, obviously, and I know we got to go, but I wouldn't think the money's that great at Presbyterian. And all the reporting I was seeing was that the Presbyterian guy was going to be the coach. I wonder what happened there. I guess if he backed out, I think that would have been a decent hire, what he's done on the lower level. But
I think it would have been too. All I can think is, Mark Ingram's a Catholic.
Bet the Seahawks with both fists. The Falcons suck. I told you last week they'd lose to the Jets. I was absolutely right.
There's another. We need to do a whole segment on Kip, I told you. There's going to be a Kip, I told you segment because every week.
Yeah, well, because nobody listens to me.
The hell we don't. We listen to you, brother.
I'm just a voice in the wilderness.
I love you guys. Have a great weekend. If Kip
picks a big upset and nobody hears it, did it really happen?
Go Texas Tech. I love you guys. Talk to you later.
All right, guys.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.